she's particularly beloved of me because she was really Leonard Cohen's first interpreter, the first person to take up Leonard Cohen's music and make it both palatable and successful for a larger pop market. And she did the same thing with Joni Mitchell. So Judy has a long and important connection to Canada. You all know her very well. Here she is, Judy Collins. Hi, do you remember me from the radio station?
I do. Thank you so much. And I'm thrilled to be here. This is an amazing conference, an amazing group of people. It's very exciting. Of course, nowadays I have to say I'm thrilled to be almost anywhere. So, however, I'd like to just get this out of the way, if I may. Rows and flows of angel hair and ice cream castles in the air, feathered canyons everywhere. I've looked at clouds that way, and now they only block the sun. They rain and snow on everyone. So many things I would have done, but clouds got in my way. I've looked at clouds from both sides now, from up and... Are there allergies here? From up and down, and still somehow it's clouds' illusions I recall. I really don't know clouds at all. There you are. Thank you so much. Thank you. I want to thank Moses. I want to thank my friend Erica Jong, who inspires me and who is amazing. And I want to thank all of you for coming and being part of this Ideas City adventure in talking to people about their lives, their ideas, their choices. I'm not Canadian, but you know, I have a relative who came through Canada. My grandfather immigrated through Canada from England. My great-grandfather, rather. So he came down from Canada to Idaho. But you know, I've always sung songs by Canadian writers, starting, of course, with the great Ed McCurdy. Last night I had the strangest dream. Do you know this? I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. I dreamed I had a mighty room, and the room was filled with men and women, and the paper they were signing said they'd never fight again. Sing this with me, will you? Last night I had the strangest dream. I never dreamed before. I dreamed the world had all agreed to put an end to war. An idea worth savoring and repeating and writing songs about. I grew up in a very exciting and dysfunctional family. If there's anybody out there who was not raised in a dysfunctional family, I want to meet you backstage and talk to you about how you managed to do that. Anyway, my father was a wonderful singer, musician, a great adventurer in life. He was born on a dirt-poor farm in Idaho and was blind by the age of 4, and yet made his way through the world musically and had a wonderful radio show for 30 years and raised 5 of us. My mother says she raised 6, including him. And And he was an amazing musician, and I got that feeling, that love, for the old wonderful standards, what we call the Great American Songbook, with My Funny Valentine, Sweet Comic Valentine. We call that the American Songbook now. We call it the Rod Stewart Songbook. And actually, just to thank Moses for his thank you to me for Leonard, yes. In 1966, after many, many years of music, learning the standards, and then having a career crisis at the age of 14, where I heard on the radio, I was playing the piano, I was playing Debussy and Mozart, and all of a sudden, and I play with orchestras. This is very serious. I should actually be in Yugoslavia with my piano tuner right now, and instead of here. But I suddenly, on the radio, I heard the song that changed my life was "'Twas in the merry month of May, when the green buds were swelling, a young man on his deathbed lay, for the love of Barbara Allen." And Mozart just paled in comparison. And all of a sudden I was part of the great folk scare. And I got a guitar, got my father to rent me a guitar. I guess he was hopeful that it would only be short-lived. And then I started hanging out with all the folkies in Denver, the Denver Folklore Society, which was run by a man named Lingo the Drifter. Now, I know what you'll appreciate about this is that I loved him. He was radical like my dad. He had a radio show like my dad, but he sang Woody Guthrie and Pete Seeger. My father sang the Great American Songbook, and he talked about politics. They both did. I don't know why they weren't thrown off the radio, both of them in 1954, 55, talking about the upcoming war that they could already see and talking about McCarthy. But the thing that I loved about this strange and mysterious man, Lingo the Drifter, was that he had what he called the Dormant Brain Cell Research Foundation. My heart was won. But no, I didn't. And a lot of other times I did, but not with him. I always look back and wonder what you missed. But in any case, I was ready for the 60s. I was born to be in the 60s, really. And what I was going to say about Leonard was that then, of course, quickly, I was singing, I was making my living, which was I think it is for anybody, but for a woman, it is a political and a revolutionary act to have a job. And I had one. I was beyond belief thrilled to get paid to do this. Unbelievable. I made $100 a week in 1959 at Michael's Pub. It was a fortune then. It's a fortune now, actually. And I started on my way. And of course, I sang the songs of Woody Guthrie. I sang the songs of Pete Seeger. I recorded Ed McCurdy. I recorded lots and lots of singers and songwriters, and Mimi and Dick Farina. And then one day in 1966, I got a call from my friend. You might even know her, Nancy Bacall. She grew up in Canada, grew up here in Toronto, and she and I were very good friends. And she would say to me every once in a while, there is this Canadian, he's a poet, and he reads poetry in these little esoteric places in Montreal and Toronto, and he has he's been published, and he has a book out called Beautiful Losers, which I read, and will read again, I'm sure. I will understand it better. And she said, this is 1966. I was starting to record an album called In My Life, which wound up having Jacques Brel and Kurt Weill songs on it. I was looking for different things. I was open to something, and she said to me, he wants to come here and find out from you whether you think that the things he's writing are songs. Now, last night I was at the Songwriters Hall of Fame in New York, inducting Leonard Cohen into the Songwriters Hall of Fame. And Katie Lang and I inducted him, and I told this story. I said, he came to my door, and first of all, most songwriters, when they come to your door, they'll knock you over, sing their song, and then they're gone. I mean, before they even say hello. He came in, he was very shy. He didn't sing anything that night at all. And then, oh, by the way, when he came to the door, I decided I didn't care if he didn't write songs. I wasn't. And no, I didn't. And I'm so grateful that I fell in love with his songs and not with him, because I know people who haven't. It's not a pretty story. Although an inspiring one, one of Joni's songs, I met you on the Midway at a fair last year. It's about her and Leonard. I really actually introduced them in 1967, but I didn't know that song was about him. Anyway, he came to the door. We talked that evening, and he left. And I said, were you going to sing me something or show me something or something? And he said, well, I'll come back tomorrow when it's just you and your boyfriend. And so he came back the next day, and he prefaced this by saying, I can't sing, and I can't play the guitar, and I don't know if this is a song. And then he sang me, Suzanne takes you down to her place by the river. You can hear the boats go by. You can spend the night beside her. And you know that she's half crazy. And that's why you want to be there. So when he was finished, I said, well, Leonard, you can play the guitar. I've heard much worse. And you can sing. I've heard much, much worse. Very successful, much, much worse. And I said, yes. I said, it is a song, and I'm recording it tomorrow. Which I did. So thus, and strange things like that happen to me, have always happened to me. Songs come to me through through the atmosphere. They land in my life, and I have to do them. And of course, I write songs as well, but only because after I recorded many of Leonard's songs, he said to me, why aren't you writing your own songs? And I said, I never thought of it. Between you and Pete Seeger and Mozart, who needs more songs? So the first song that I wrote was, what I'll give you since you've asked is all my time together. And I'm happy to report that Leonard recorded that song. So turnabout's fair play. I have been privileged to have an extraordinary career, and I have been many places and seen many things, and been able to travel and make my life in music and writing. I write books. By the way, I'm writing a new book called Sweet Judy Blue Eyes, Sex, Drugs, Rock and Roll, and the Music That Changed a Civilization. And that's coming out. You know that Stephen Stills wrote that song for me, don't you? Sweet Judy Blue Eyes. So I'm going to tell some. I'm not going to tell all, but I'll tell some. And anyway, they say, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. So I had to rent the Doors movie to find out what happened. And I was so shocked. I was beyond shocked. And to live through it, I suppose, to thrive through it, because I always worked, and I always sang, and I always made records. I have started my own record label in self-defense, because I don't like what the big companies are doing, but I have my own record label, and I record my own albums on it, and I record other artists. I present other artists on it, and I have some wonderful young artists that I'm following and trying to help in the way that I was helped when I started out with Elektra, because, we were inventing this thing, inventing the marketing, doing things, it seemed, out of the blue, and yet still things happened that were exciting and marvelous and unheard of. With Joni Mitchell, of course, one night, when I mentioned that songs fly in the window, one night I was sound asleep at 3 in the morning in 1967, and I woke up when the phone rang, which was quite surprising, given the year and my state, my usual state. But I woke up and it was Al Cooper, who started the Blues Project and Blood, Sweat, and Tears. And he said, I followed this girl home because she's really good looking and she said she writes songs. And he said, I figured I couldn't lose if she doesn't write songs. It wasn't a bad move anyway. And then I did answer the phone. I was awake. I said, hi. And he said, I want to put her on the phone. And then he put Joni Mitchell on the phone and she sang me both sides now. So miracles happen like that. I have had, of course, the secret in my family was that my father was an alcoholic. He was brilliant and he was wonderful, but he had this beastly disease, and really nobody knew about it. Nobody talked about it in that time. And of course I didn't talk about it, but I knew I had it. I knew I had it. By the time I was 19, I was sure I had it. And so I went through many years of unfortunate experience on a personal level. Although I always showed up, and I always sang, and I always did my work, and I always made my records because, I'm stubborn, and I'm the oldest of 5, and I was determined, and I thought I could beat it. And I will tell you that I've been sober 32 years. It's the greatest thing that ever happened to me. I have a second life, you see. And a second life. Now, when I got sober in 1978, yesterday I was watching television. I saw Eminem on television discussing his sobriety, his relapse and his sobriety. That was not happening when I got sober, I will tell you. It's been a joyful time, and it's also been a tragic time. I lost my son to suicide when he was 33 years old, and that's a story that I have talked about and written about because I've become an activist within the suicide recovery and prevention movement, which is perhaps the most important thing I have ever done. And he is probably the most important teacher that I've ever had. A few months ago, I got a call on the phone from my old friend, Peter Yarrow, and I've known all these people, for 50 years. It's amazing. And he said to me, you'll be delighted to know I'm not calling you to ask you to do a benefit for the first time in 50 years, actually. And he said, I want you to sing a song for my new children's book. He had a great success with Puff the Magic Dragon. And when he told me what the song was, I said I would be thrilled. And I'll tell you quickly how I come to feel that I have earned the right to sing this song. I was born in 1939, in case you were counting and wondering. And it was the same year that The Wizard of Oz came out, and this song was a hit on the radio. And my mother told me always that I was named after Judy Garland. And my father said, no, you were named after Judith, the queen in the Bible who cut off the head of Holofernes, so don't kid yourself about this. I have a book out called Over the Rainbow. You can go on Amazon and get it. And it goes like this. When all the world is a hopeless jumble and the raindrops tumble all around, heaven opens a magic lane. When all the clouds darken up the skyway, there's a rainbow highway to be found, leading from your window pane to a place behind the sun, just a step beyond the rain. That's the verse that nobody ever sings. Somewhere over the rainbow, way up high, there's a land that I heard of once in a lullaby. Somewhere over the rainbow, skies are blue, and the dreams that you dare to dream really do come true. You know this, right? Someday I'll wish upon a star and wake up where the clouds are far behind me, where troubles melt like lemon drops away above the chimney tops. That's where you'll find me, somewhere over the rainbow. Bluebirds fly, birds can't I? If happy little bluebirds fly beyond the rainbow, why, oh, why can't I? Thank you so much.
We're ready.
Would you indulge me? Would you hold us a second?
Okay.
Thank you again.
No, then I have to leave.
Thanks, Moses.
Okay, my dear.
Bye.
Sue.
Bye.